All right, let's quickly talk about how to file a business tax extension. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How you doing today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, I want you to go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka. Let's roll. Today's conversation will revolve around filing a business tax extension. We've actually covered the same topic for individuals, so if you want to file an individual tax extension, you want to refer to that video. But here we are going to talk about a business tax extension. First of all, let's just go to the definitions here. What is the business tax extension? The tax deadline is looming, right? And you're not ready to file yet. So you may have to track down some striking financial records, or maybe some other complication has cropped up to make things impossible for you to file your business tax return on time. So the IRS has forms for that, so you don't have to worry. The process for filing an extension application for business taxes involves filing a simple form online. The form you use depends on your business type, and in some cases, you may not even need to file an application form. So, business tax extension means that you are actually asking the IRS to give you extra time to gather your paperwork so you can file your business tax return. It doesn't mean that the IRS is granting you extra time to make the payment. You still gotta pay. I'll speak about that later on. But right now, the extension applies only to the time needed to gather the paperwork. What are the due dates for business tax extensions? So, the due dates for corporations. So, if your business is organized as an S corporation, the income tax return or extension is due by the 15th day of the third month after the end of your tax year. Let me give you an example. If your S corporation is a calendar year taxpayer with a December 31st year end, you must file a 2020 tax return or extension request by March 15th, 2021. And if, on the other hand, your business is a C corporation, then the extension is due by the 15th day of the fourth month after the end of your tax year. Another example, very simple. If your C corporation is a calendar year taxpayer with, say, a December 31st year end, you must file a 2020 tax return or extension request by April 15th, 2021. So that's the due dates for corporations, right? What about the due dates for partnerships? If your business is organized as a partnership, your income tax return or extension is due by the 15th day of the third month after the end of your fiscal year. Again, if I give you an example here, if your partnership is a calendar year taxpayer with a December 31st year end, you must file a 2020 tax return or extension by March 15, 2021. Now, there are some extensions requests and audit. So you may have heard that the IRS looks more closely at businesses that file extension applications, right? But the IRS doesn't really select tax returns for audits based on whether the taxpayer requested an extension. They select tax return for audit based on random selections and on screenings, comparing a tax return with norms, what they call norms, for similar returns. Speaking about extensions, it's very important to understand why the IRS may deny extension requests. Now, you have a Form 4868, which is used for personal tax returns, including business tax schedules, and this is called an automatic extension. You even have the words automatic extensions in the title of the form, and you have Form 7004 for extensions for business tax returns, partnerships, and corporation. This Form 7004 is also automatic. There are just a few reasons, as I was saying earlier, why the IRS might deny your application request. If the request isn't filed on time, in other words, by the due date of the tax return, if there is no signature on the paper filed form, very important, you gotta sign all the forms you send to the agency. Or if you filed Form 2350 because you were living abroad and there is no indication you live and work in a foreign country. So we're showing on the screen right now both forms, 4868 and the 2350, along with the links. So remember, folks, though, that you cannot extend payments. So if you need more time to complete your business tax return, you can request an extension of time to file your return. However, even with an extension, you must estimate how much you owe, how much money you owe, or if you owe, and send that amount by the due date. Otherwise, the IRS can invalidate your extension. So even if you apply for an extension for filing your business income tax forms, you cannot extend the payment deadline. I already said that. You must calculate and pay any income taxes and self-employment taxes by the due date of the form. To avoid IRS penalties for underpayment and late payment, you should pay at least 90% of the tax due. Very important, 90%. So to estimate the tax you must pay, you might want to use an estimated tax calculation. You have gazillions of them on the internet. So you want to definitely request an extension if you're not prepared to file your actual return on time. So the late filing penalty can be more expensive than penalties and interest associated with paying late. So get your extension request in, then address the nuts and bolts of preparing your return and figuring out what you owe. Very important. So let's just dig a little deeper here. And this is the second, I just went a little deep into what a business tax extension is. Now let's talk about the rules, the general rules for filing a business tax extension application. So businesses may file requests for tax extensions using either Form 4868 or Form 7004, depending on the type of business you own. So business tax on the personal return. Let's first address that. Business owners who pay business taxes as part of their personal tax returns are called what? They're called pass-through businesses, pass-through entities. And these businesses use Form 4868 to apply for an extension. And this typically includes sole proprietorships and single-member limited liability companies filing their business tax on Schedule C as part of their tax return. We have actually devoted an entire show to the Schedule C topic, so you might want to double check that one. So, and you also have partners in partnerships and S corporations owners filing a Schedule K1 for their share of business tax liability as part of their tax return. They must also use Form 4868. So owners of corporations receive dividend income as shareholders. So dividends are taxed on their personal tax returns, right? So C Corp or S Corp owners may work as employees, and this income is taxed on their personal return. So if you live and work abroad, for example, there is a special extension application you must use if you expect to qualify for special tax treatment. It's called, you need to file Form 2350, extension application for U.S. citizens and aliens abroad. What about extensions on personal tax returns? So if you are one of the pass-through business types that I just spoke about and you pay your business taxes through your personal return, there is an easy way to get an extension on your tax return. Very important. The thing here is that you really don't need to file Form 4868 if you make a payment using one of the electronic payment options. So the IRS will automatically process an extension of time to file when you pay part or all of your estimated income tax electronically. So this is done through Form 1040. All right. So as soon as you pay, if you pay the amount, you don't have to file any form. So you can also get an extension by paying all or part of your income tax due and indicate that the payment is for an extension. And to do that, you got to go to the IRS, the EFTPS form, and you can even use your credit or debit card. And once you do that, once you make the payment, you will receive a confirmation. And please keep that confirm in your records. Very important. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. So, welcome back, folks. We are still having a conversation today about how to file a business tax extension online. So, I spoke to you about Form 4868. That's the form you use to file a personal tax, an extension for your an extension on personal tax returns in case you are a special you are a pass-through entity, right? So you make payments, you pay taxes on your income on Schedule C through Schedule C. Now let's talk about business tax returns. So corporations and partnerships use Form 7004 to file an extension application for the business, not the individual owners, right? So here we are talking about corporations, so C corporations, right? S corporations and multiple member LLC businesses filing as partnerships, corporations, or S corporations. So you have a Form 7004. I'm actually showing you right now I'm showing you again the Form 7004, so 7004. And you can see there are two parts here. So application for automatic extension of time to file certain business income tax information and other returns. This is very important. Please remember the keyword here, automatic extension. That's the keyword. So as soon as you file and everything else is fine, you do get the extension you ask for. The 6-month delay that you need, the IRS will grant you that. So once you have identified the return that you are requesting an extension for, you will need to provide the IRS with some basic information about your company. So if your organization is a foreign corporation that doesn't have an office or place of business in the United States, if your organization is a corporation and is the common parent of a group that will be filing a consolidated return, if the organization is a corporation or a partnership that qualifies under regulations section 1.6081-5, if the dates of your calendar and tax years are different, and if you are filing a short tax year and why. So those are things that you need to actually explain to the IRS when you file with them. Again, the form, you need to determine which form you need to file, right? Whether it is 1120, 1065, and so on and so forth. This is a determination you have to make. Now, how do you actually file the extension? Let's just speak practically here. Form 7004 can be e-filed through the modernized e-file, the MEF platform. All right, and we actually have a link. We're going to show a screenshot on the screen right now, and we have a link to that modernized e-file platform. So all returns shown on Form 7004 are eligible for an automatic extension of time to file from the due date of the return. Right now, you need to see if you need more info. You want to see Form 7004 instructions for exceptions pertaining to foreign corporations with no office or place of business in the United States, for foreign and certain domestic corporations, and for certain partnerships. So the Form 7004 does not extend the time for tax payment. I think I've made it clear enough during this show. You want to refer to the Form 7004 instructions for additional information on payment of tax and balance due. So one thing I want to say here is that there are some exceptions. There are some circumstances when you cannot use Form 7004. You cannot e-file Form 7004. For example, if you have name change applications, reasonable cause for failing to pay timely, reasonable cause for failing to file application timely, request for refunds, election to make installment payments for a portion of balance due amount. I'm giving you a list of instances where Form 7004 cannot be e-filed. You have election to make installment payments for a portion of balance due amounts. I think, right, I already said that. You have applications requesting extension due to change in accounting period unless prior approval has been applied for from IRS or certain conditions have been met. And if you need more info on that, you want to see publication 538, accounting periods and methods, for further details. You have applications with net operating loss carryback. For that, you want to use Form 1138, right? And applications attaching the Form 2848, power of attorney and declaration of representative, the POA. The POA should be sent separately and not with the Form 7004. Early filed the returns filed before end of tax period. Filing short period extension due to termination of 1120S status, that's the S corporation. And if you have extensions for the following forms, so Form 706 GS, Form 8612, Form 8613, 8725, 8831, and 8876. In all those instances, you cannot e-file Form 7004. It's kind of important. I mean, e-filing or filing a business tax extension can be convoluted, can be a hassle. So you have options to actually automate the whole thing. Not automate, but you can outsource it rather. You can e-file using a software program or a tax professional. So all the major tax software applications allow you to file an extension using either Form 4868 or Form 7004. So when you log on to prepare your return, there should be a tab or option for filing an extension. There may not even be a charge, although you will eventually have to pay to prepare the return yourself. Right? You can use either the personal or home business version of the product to file Form 4868 or use the business version to file Form 7004. And you can actually do this immediately, then go back days or weeks later to complete your tax return. All right. So now let's kind of talk about, let me give you some tips for choosing the proper business tax software. Whether it is the TurboTax, Tax Act, you name it, H&R Block. So to choose the right one, the right business tax software, you want to ask yourself a few questions. Do you want online tax software or desktop tax software? Basic, deluxe, or premium? What tax software version do you need? Does the price include state tax return? Do you need help organizing tax deductions? Should you use free tax software? Do you want to file electronically? How much tax software help and support do you need? You got to really understand your situation. Does the tax software have a guarantee? Does your computer meet the minimum system requirements? Is the software for the correct tax year? This is very important. And I'm going to give you a few other tips for choosing a competent business tax preparer. And those tips are coming straight from the IRS, whether the person is an EA, an enrolled agent, a tax lawyer, or a certified public accountant, a CPA. So you want to check the preparer's qualifications. You want to use the IRS directory of federal tax return preparers with credentials and select qualifications. Check the preparer's history. Ask about service fees. You want to ask to e-file. Make sure the preparer is available. Provide records and receipts. Those folks, those are tips they're coming straight from the IRS. We are going to put the link of the resource on the screen along with the screenshot so you can see it. But those are tips that the IRS has given to millions of Americans when it comes to choosing a competent business tax preparer. So you want to provide records and receipts to the preparer. Never sign a blank return. We want to review before signing. Ensure the preparer signs and includes their PTIN. Very important, because all paid tax preparers must have a preparer tax identification number, a PTIN. By law, the paid preparers must sign returns and include the PTIN, and you also want to report abusive tax preparers to the IRS. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks. We are still here having a conversation about how to file a business tax extension online or offline. Now, how and where do you manually file an extension? If you decide to do it manually, you want to do things manually, that's pretty cool too. Nobody aids saying you have to file things online. So you can always file an extension application in the old-fashioned way through mail. You can mail it in. You can print out either form for the IRS websites, Form 4868 and Form 7004. It really depends on your situation. I think I've already explained that. But you need to get the mailing address for your location from the form, and you want to mail it in as many days as possible before the tax deadline. So what we've done is we've done the research for you, so you can see on the screen right now. I'm actually showing you very, very simply where to file, and this came from the IRS website. All right. So if the form is a 706 GS and 706 GST, and the settler is, so I really want you to take some time to actually, we're going to leave it on the screen for a while, where to file. So if the form is, you can see the first column, if the form is, second column, if, and the settler is or was at death. So that's the category within which the settler was. Then you need to file Form 7004 at, and you have actually several addresses. All right. And if you go to the IRS website, you can actually also find out the address, the residential address, if you want to send something via, if you want to overnight a package to them, for example. Right. So we're going to leave those. We're going to leave this on the screen. So we have actually two files. So the second file, where to file, and if the form is 1066, 1120C, 1120PC, 1041, 1120L, 1120SF, 1065, 1120, 1120 rate. So depending on the conditions that you find yourself in, I want you to take a screenshot right now. We're going to leave those two forms on the screen for a while, so you can actually take a screenshot and actually see which condition applies to your situation, right? And this is this again, when you actually mail in the form 4868 or 7004, remember that you got to make the payment, right? As I said, and I think I've made it very clear here, requesting an extension doesn't mean that you are requesting an extension for payment. You still have to pay, but you are only requesting an extension when it comes to gathering your paperwork. Now, how do you actually avoid costly IRS penalties? Because the IRS may actually hit your business with costly penalty and interest charges if you underestimate your taxes, right? Or you file your return late, or you do not provide certain information by the due date. And let's just assume that your business entity is a calendar year taxpayer. So in the event you are a fiscal year taxpayer, you want to adjust your due dates based on the information that I've just given you earlier, right? For example, the due date for the tax return of a corporation for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2020 is what? July 15, 2020. So you got to add 90 plus 15 days, extra days, right? Now, there is an exception to this. Corporations with a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th, the initial deadline will remain September 15th, which is the 15th date of the third month following the year of the fiscal year, and the extension deadline remains February 15th, in other words, 5 months after the first deadline. So this exception actually applies for fiscal years ending through June 30th, 2026. With fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027, the filing deadline moves to October 15th, which is the 15th date of the fourth month following the end of the fiscal year. And the extended deadline moves to March 15th, 6 months after the first deadline. Now, so how do you avoid costly IRS penalties if you're a partnership? First of all, let's talk about S corporations. So if your business has always been an S corporation, it is effectively treated as an extension of the shareholders for many tax purposes and will generally not owe any tax itself, right? It's how do you call that? It is a pass-through entity. However, if your S corporation was once a C corp, it may owe a corporate level tax in certain limited situations. An S corp must provide a Schedule K1 to all shareholders, right, detailing their share of the corporation's income and deductions for the tax year. So this is something that you have to. So if the S corporation does not pay all of the tax by that date, by the due date, it may owe a penalty of 0.5% of the unpaid tax for each month the tax is not paid, up to a maximum of 25%. For partnerships, so like an S corporation, a partnership does not owe tax itself, but is generally treated as an extension of the partners. So partnerships must provide a Schedule K1 to all partners, detailing their share of the partnership's income and deductions for the year. So if you don't file your 2020 partnership return, including a Schedule K1 for each partner on time, you may owe a penalty equal to $195 per partner for each month the return is late, up to a maximum of 12 months. So the due date for a calendar year partnership's 2020 return is March 21st, as March 15, 2021. So if you think you may need more time to prepare your return, you want to file for an extension using Form 7004 right now. And the due date for your partnership return will be extended. Once you do that, it will be extended to September 15, 2021. So all this conversation that I've just had with you about filing a business tax extension, you might be thinking that it only applies to the federal. Of course, I've been using federal tax form 7004, 4868, but please do not forget extensions on state income taxes. Those are important too because your business is liable for state income taxes as well, right? So states that have state income tax have different rules for extending the state return. Some states may go along with the IRS extension, while others, particularly New York, for example, will require you to file a separate extension. So you want to check with your state's taxing authority to make sure you are complying with your state's requirements for filing an extension. Now, having said that, as a general rule, it's just better to refer to the tax form instructions or tax help for your state before you request a state tax extension. All right, folks, this is about it. This was a short convo about how to file a business tax extension, either online or offline. And I wish you were able to learn a lot. And if you did, please just smash the like button and subscribe to our channel. And I will see you next time. But before I just go, let me recap here. As I define what a business tax extension is, what the general rules are for filing a business tax extension, how do you file an extension, how do you e-file an extension, how and where you can manually file an extension, and how to avoid costly IRS penalties. Good luck. I will see you next time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.